Your martial arts movie podcast.
I threw that shit before I walked in the room.
Featuring drunken Thai boxer Will.
Too bad you will die.
The also drunken wrestler Mark.
I don't want trouble.
And drunken karate master Zero.
Like this opening scene, he's like really scrambly. He's all over the place. And then like as
I think
opposed to the
they're
next fight
really
scene where he's like more evasive, you know?
Yeah. Well, he's more evasive because in like later fight scenes, he's fighting multiple people that are on a higher level than these first people. And in this first fight, he is scrambling. He's literally like running circles around him as he literally runs on the ground around them. So I think that's just telling of his character, setting up his power dynamic between these lowly goons as opposed to where in the next fights, he has to start to do a little more evasion because they're a little harder to defeat.
Sure. I mean, I think as I was watching the film, like even with the higher levels, and we can talk about that when we get to those fights, but for this first one, he's a lot more, I use the word scrambly, but he really does he's just kind of all over he really is all over the place. See, he's on the floor, he's like doing leg windmills, tripping people, he's literally bum rushing folks. Okay, so let's set up the villains in this fight scene. We have an archer, a long-range fighter, a big guy carrying a bamboo pole that he quite literally shreds at certain points, so he can like use it as like more of like a slashing weapon later in the fight. And then we have a Catman. We have
I think he's Lizard Man.
Lizard Man,
is his name or something
sure.
like that.
They fight very similar in my eyes, but yeah, sure. He's okay, fine. He fights more like a lizard, so he fights close quarters. So I thought that was interesting that like you have three fighters that all fight from different ranges. I thought like, oh, how are we gonna play that into the fight choreography? Like as soon as I saw them coming out and they're bearing their weapons, I thought like, oh, I kind of want to see how our main character is gonna deal with all ranges at the same time, and it doesn't really play out that way. It's like it kind of does when they go outside, but inside it's like
inside's kind of
close quarters.
Yeah, that's the problem, because inside they are all close quarters, so it becomes kind of a mess. It's a lot of I think they called him the gecko, the lizard of the gecko man. He is constantly diving. And whenever he can kind of flush Ashton Shen towards the big monk, he'll strike down with his big stick. And then every now and then you see the archer biding her time, looking for an opening, and then she'll fire arrows at him. So it's like a constant barrage from different angles. But the problem is, because of this set, it feels all feels close quarters, because the cameraman is also right in their faces the whole time. He's literally in there because there's just nowhere to put him.
Yeah, see, this is where like there's a pro and a con to everything, right? Because I actually really like the camera work inside. I don't even mind the editing so much, because like, okay, yeah, of course it's like we want to be able to see everything, but in terms of like filming things in an enclosed indoor space, and you can't really make out like too much detail, like in terms of silhouettes and stuff. Like I think they did a pretty good job. Like they edited just enough, like you still make out what the characters are dishing out and receiving. I like that. Because of the length of this fight is really short. It's over in a couple, like maybe half a minute. Like I do think that they threw this into the movie because of a small bit of shock factor. Because like
possibly,
it's like, oh, like wouldn't it be kind of funny, right? Like sure, okay, fine, but I mean, no one expected that. I mean, fine, the woman, the man in drag, like whatever, like he does good enough, of a job, but like the little person he's
awesome.
Pretty skilled. He's awesome.
Yeah,
He moves
I thought
really
he looked
well.
really good.
Yeah, he's literally doing a backspin, breakdancing backspin part way in this. I mean, low centrifugal force, right? But like really, still really good. To see that him doing that stuff was like, okay, well, we didn't need this. It's a nice little like snack.
Yeah.
He pulls off more of the wuxia moves, like especially towards the ending of this. Like he's like gliding, all over the place. Like, he does the wuxia drift. Yeah, right. Because he's like they're both running parallel to one another towards the same end, but then all of a sudden he Tokyo drifts himself. like towards the opponent. Yeah, I love it. It's like but this is good. Like that's okay with me to see that. And then I guess we didn't really talk enough about this, but like Jackal's or Ashton Chen's character, his weapon of choice is 2 tiny little knives or daggers.
It's almost like he's got like an ice pick in his hand or something like that.
Yeah.
I don't understand the reasoning by his short knife. It doesn't really make sense. And it puts him at this really huge disadvantage because the other guy's weapon is this kind of crescent blade and it's so much longer. Yeah. So Ashton Chen really just has to get so close to him in order to deal any damage. And so for the most part, I think he realizes this, so he can't really get close. And there's a lot of times where he's just backing away because he just doesn't know what to do.
Yeah. I mean, maybe just not a good weapon of choice. I don't know. I mean, that's a distinctive weapon, right? He's used it up till this point in the movie, and they're going to continue going with this trope of his. I think maybe the reason why he stopped using the weapon after this fight is because he realized, oh yeah, maybe I shouldn't use 2 tiny little toothpicks, right? Because they're very ineffective. And yeah, well, we'll get to the end of this in a little bit, but like the whole back and forth between the 2 performers is pretty good. And the way that like we have long bouts of choreography with the slow orbiting camera around them. It happens several times in the fight, in this scene. Like, that's great. Like, I like seeing, obviously we love seeing longer bouts of choreography where everyone's just hitting their marks and it just looks really good and there's a lot of variety to it.
So I think what also makes this so visually enticing, minus the fact that it's much longer takes of choreography and in these unbroken shots, is that when the camera is orbiting around him, the actors are always in a place so that they strike these good poses and they're composed very well on screen because there's 3 people on screen. So you actually need to make sure that all 3 people are standing in a way to where it looks visually like centered, where when the camera is like in a certain spot on the screen. So like that could become so messy with the timing of somebody going in and out, and then also the camera operator, because the camera operator is the 4th person in this choreography set, because the camera operator needs to make sure like, okay, this person's here. Well, I need to make sure I'm here at this point or I'm here at this point. And it's this crazy intricate dance of making sure he's capturing everything perfectly on screen.
Yeah. That's absolutely true. And like, so we have a good combination of everything we just mentioned, good camera work, good placement of characters, like performers in the scene, everyone obviously remembering their cues, their choreography, but also, everyone here is really talented and such, but from an audience standpoint, is also pretty nice because from the editor also does a really good job here because like he puts in just the right amount of breathing room in between with also all those insert shots, also some clarity of like, oh, how did like the insert shots aren't just like, oh, we need to put an insert shot of, I don't know, water splashing against the I don't know, like water dripping in the in the other room or something like that. I'm thinking like Wong Kar-wai at this point, but I'm like everything has a purpose. Like just seeing like the dagger hitting the floor. It's like it's only in there for like a quarter of a second, but like it's imply that maybe that was to stop the momentum. For a character to like post on the ground before they can lunge forward. Like super short insert shots, and then there's longer insert shots of them just kind of like staring each other down in these like standoff moments. Again, just to give the audience some breathing room. Otherwise, like, yes, of course we love long bits of choreography, but if it's just nonstop and there's like it's like frenetic the entire time, you start to get really overwhelmed, right? So this is like the perfect balance, I think. Li Fengchao, like what he's doing is actually interesting. If you were just watching him do forms, like he's just swinging the halberd around, the way that he's maneuvering it, that's cool. But like the way that he engages with his opponent, like I don't think that's as interesting. Right, like watching him like do like just swinging that thing around, like the way that he's easily able to move it around, like that is interesting. But like Jackal's not doing anything that's like really that unique to avoid him. In fact, like the way that this kind of turns around in Jackal's favor, because he's kind of on the losing side for a little while, is that he just throws him. Yeah, it's like that's kind of anticlimactic. And then like he leaves so he can go get the baby, so he can then he comes back and it just becomes a trouncing, and I don't know what the strategy change was. I don't know how Jackal won this exchange, or how he came on the winning side.
I don't know either. I think it's just he won because he had to win. Like that's it, unfortunately.
Yeah.
See, my problem is that Michael Tong jumps up in the air for like this slow motion downward strike, and we never really set up any sort of weakness that he might have. And so all Ashton Shen does is he like looks to his side, and then he just swings at this, I don't know, this big flaming piece of something. And then that's when the embers go in Michael Tong's eye, and I don't know, like it didn't feel like strategically that's how he should have won. I was hoping for a little more critical thinking on his part, but it's fine, I guess.
But yeah, that's Blade of Fury.
Hey, Blade of Fury.